Ann and I moved into Meadow Lakes about 3 years ago. And when we arrived at Meadow Lakes, we got with a group of people and we decided we wanted to do a musical review, which we did on stage in the auditorium. And it was entitled, Beyond a Male Composer, There is a Female Lyricist. The whole idea behind it was to showcase women lyricists. This was in 2017. And we did. We actually showed and brought into Dorothy Fields. We did some of Dorothy Fields' lyrics. We did some of Betty Comden's lyrics. Okay? We did some of Carolyn Lee. And then the last one we did, the fourth person that we showcased on stage in the auditorium, was Carole King, who it is, of course, more recent. Now, I'm telling you all this because there have not been that many women lyricists in theater, movies. But what's more rare,
That's all right.
what is more rare is husband and wife. And so, enter the Bergmans. The Bergmans. Who are the Bergmans? Well, the Bergmans, Alan and Marilyn Bergman, are husband and wife lyricists. And they've been recognized as one of the very few and certainly the most successful lyric writing teams in history. Together, the Bergmans created many unforgettable images with their lyrical mastery. And through the years, they earned a whole number of awards. For example, they were nominated for 16 Academy Awards. They won multiple Emmys and Grammys. And in the number 16 that I just told you about, they won 3. They won 3 actual Oscars for the following songs: Windmills of Your Mind, The Way We Were, and the entire musical score of Barbra Streisand's Yentl, the movie Yentl. As they worked rather tirelessly with the French composer Michel Legrand. Now, Alan Bergman was born in 1929. Marilyn was born, and her name was Keith, K-E-I-T-H. This was her maiden name. She was born in he was born in 25, she was born in 29. And despite the geographical differences, and by the way, the interesting thing was they were born in the same hospital in Brooklyn. But despite the geographical proximity of their upbringing in New York, the Bergmans did not meet until they got into Los Angeles. That's where they met. Alan, before that, studied at UNC Chapel Hill, and then he went on to earn a master's degree in music from UCLA. Marilyn attended the high school in New York. She attended the High School of Music and Art in New York City. And then before studying, or before getting into the whole lyrical thing, writing lyrics, she was an English major and a psychology major at NYU. Alan initially worked as a TV director and a fledgling songwriter at a television station in Philadelphia in the early 50s. Now, we are in the early 1950s. And while he was there, he befriended Johnny Mercer. And of course, Mercer befriended him, and it was Mercer who got Alan to go to LA to get involved. He thought he would make a great professional lyricist. And of course, upon arriving in LA, then he met Marilyn. Okay? Now, I have to tell you that the Bergmans, when they were in Los Angeles, got together with a composer by the name of Lou Spence. He was out there, and they got together with Lou Spence, and they wrote a song called Sleep Warm, which was performed or recorded by both Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra. It was a 1955 hit. Now, what they also did with Lou Spence was write a 1960 dynamite hit with Frank Sinatra called Nice and Easy. Nice and Easy. The Bergmans married in 1958. She kept Keith for a while as her professional name, and later dropped it, of course, when it became Bergman. Now, their continued efforts in lyric writing spanned 45 years. They finished writing lyrics somewhere around 2002, and I'll be talking about that. Okay, and this afternoon, I would like to focus on 1950s, 1960s and 1970s with you, okay? 50s, 60s, and 70s, that's their work, okay? Now, you also need to understand that they weren't sitting around writing pop tunes. The Bergmans wrote mainly for the movies, television, and some Broadway. He directed the film, and believe me, he's a Canadian director who was working in the United States for several decades. He worked here. As a matter of fact, I will tell you that he won 3 Academy Awards, and each Academy Award was in a different decade. He won one in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. This was not a film that he won the Academy Award. But this is going to be a little, stay with me, because my wife says that sometimes, you know, not quite clear, but this is the more difficult part of it. Jewison is looking for music and lyrics for the Thomas Crown Affair. Now, if you've never seen the film, Thomas Crown is a professional thief. And what he does, he robs artwork off from museums. And so Steve McQueen is, of course, conniving, and he's doing this. He's stealing the artworks from the museum. And now we need some music for the film. So what Jewison is doing, he's doing a rough cut And what he did was he filmed the scene, because you see Thomas Crown also is into gliding. That's his hobby. When he's not stealing, he's running around the air in a glider. So, this is the scene, him in a glider, right? And if you watch the movie, you'll see it. And now we need the music. Well, what you do and sometimes is you put in what we call holding music. And what he did was, Jewison did, he put music into temporarily this picture, this scene, by borrowing the music Strawberry Fields by the Beatles. It sounds weird. But the reason he did that is he is looking for psychedelic feeling. Okay, so far the psycho. He's also looking, by the way, for repetition. So what happens is, who comes to town but Michel Legrand? Michel Legrand comes into town and Jewison introduces the Bergmans to Michel. And now he has his composer and he has his lyricist, plural. And what happens is that he's, again, Jewison's looking for very specific, psychedelic, a taste of it. And he's looking for hesitancy, but he's looking for that repetition. And he also wants to get across the idea that in this scene, you see Thomas Crown is suddenly realizing, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. You know, he's having second thoughts as he's flying around in his glider. Okay, so what happens is Michel Legrand brings 8 melodies. He brings in 8 melodies to the Bergmans and asks them if they would select one. Now, in the 8 was Windmills in Your Mind. So you can imagine they selected Windmills in Your Mind. And of course, when you see the film, it's very much in there. He pulls out the Beatles music and slips in the music. Okay? Just prior to their meeting, by the way, that is Legrand and the Bergmans, they hopped on an airplane in 1964 and went to Broadway. They flew into Broadway and they did a musical on Broadway, the score, they did the lyrics, for a show called Something More. Something More. The composer was Sammy Fain, F-A-I-N. Okay, Sammy Fain is quite a composer, as a matter of fact. The leading lady in this particular musical was Barbara Cook. And as you know, Barbara Cook was in the Music Man. She had been doing the Music Man in the 50s, and we are now, of course, in the mid-60s with this. So here we have the musical, and unfortunately it bombed. It closed after 29 performances. Okay. It closed, but it wasn't Sammy Fain's fault. Frankly, it wasn't. And it wasn't the Bergmans' fault. There were other problems. Because I'll tell you right now that Sammy Fain had previously written the following songs. Composed them. I Can Dream, Can I? Secret Love, I'll Be Seeing You, and a song that I'm going to be playing for you shortly, Love Is a Many Splendid Thing. What are you doing the rest of your life, north and south, and east and west of your life? I have only one request of your life, that you spend it all with me. Those are four wonderful, you have to admit, opening lines by the Bourbons on this number with Michel Legrand. They're wonderful opening lines, and this song is featured in Happy Endings. That's the movie that was made of it, starring Gene Simmons and John Forsythe. Okay, the film centers on, frankly, the questionable life of emptiness of life of suburban living. Okay? And now I'd like to take you back, way back, to 1875. 1875 plays a Haitian poem in French, of course. It was by the poet Oswald Durand, and the poem is entitled Choupoune. Choupoune, and that means little bird. Now, let's fast forward slightly to 1890, because the poem was then turned into a song by the composer Michel Monton. And let's even fast forward more, and we get to 1961. And a guy by the name of Arthur Lyman, who was a terrific player as far as the vibraphonist, the xylophone. Lyman had a keen ear and a great imagination. He was born, frankly, in Hawaii, on the island of Kauai. And of course, the guy that influenced Lyman was Lionel Hampton. He had a big influence on him. Meantime, Lyman is using animal sounds, all kinds of different instruments to create this music. See, he was a composer and a performer, obviously. And he got together all of a sudden with a guy by the name of Norman Luboff, which you've heard of, because you've heard of the Norman Luboff Choir. Because a lot of people don't know that Norman Luboff was also a composer. And so they get together with the Bourbons. And they modify, they transform this Haitian song to this. She wanted me to mention it to you. You can hum together with Marvin Hamlish, who you know, Marvin Hamlish from Chorus Line, the well-known composer, and they created it. The film, if you remember, was Robert Redford. Robert Redford and good old, what's her name, running around, Barbara Streisand. And Barbara, remember, is running around with a placard in her hand. She's a huge activist. This is a film worth watching if you haven't seen it. It's set in the late 1930s and it goes into World War II. You know, and of course he's a Navy officer and she is a very big activist and he's kind of, you know, quiet. But it's the message that comes out of the film is opposites can attract. Opposites can attract. Okay. Oh, and by the way, it won in 1983. And I want to let you know the Academy Awards program of 1983. There were 5 nominated songs in the 1983 Academy Awards program, and of the 5 songs, the Bergmans did the lyrics for 3. That's how strong this couple is on writing. And now let's move on, if we could, please, to some movies. Let's not forget the movie Yentl, which I talked about, Barbara Streisand doing everything. Now, Yentl was a short story that started. It was entitled The Yeshiva Boy. And from there it went into a play on Broadway. The play ran 223 performances. That's a good performance. That's not bad for a play on Broadway. That's 2/3 of a year. And so about 10 years later, Miss Streisand gets the idea that I want to make a musical out of it. Now, a bit to the chagrin of the playwright, of the Broadway playwright, he wasn't too happy because Barbara, in all fairness, she produced it, directed it, and starred in it. Now, it's a good film, you know, it's not a bad film, and once again, the music, all the music's by Michel Legrand, all the lyrics were by the Bergmans. And that was Yentl. And then we have another one, by the way. Oh, by the way, the Bergmans are alive and well. They're living in LA. Alan is now in his early 90s, and Marilyn is in her late 80s, enjoying retirement and hopefully doing well. One of the last endeavors in 1995 was a remake of the 1954 movie, Billy Wilder movie, by the way, Sabrina. Sabrina starred Audrey Hepburn and Humphrey Bogart. Now, there was a remake in 1995 of Sabrina. It was with Harrison Ford in the lead. Ann and I watched it the other night. It's helpful when I see some of this stuff. And it is a good film. It's a very interesting film. Yes, you could. If I were you, I would watch the 1995 version of Harrison Ford. It's terrific. And now, of course, there's a song. There's a song in it. It's entitled Moonlight. That's the song. It's hard to find that song, by the way, in the movies. You can't, it's not very pronounced. But what's interesting is, in the movie, Sting sings it. Sting. Can't get any more modern than that, right? Sting is up there singing the song, and of course he records it later. And so there it is. It's called Sabrina, well worth watching. Okay? And now I would like to leave the Bergmans, and I would like to play a medley of 4 songs for you, if I could, please. The medley starts out with the song that I promised you that I would play, and it is called Love is a Many Splendid Thing. That will be followed by Barbara. She did this last night. If you caught Barbara's on the 1979, her concert was 2006, it was on. It was an outstanding concert. I had seen it once before. She does Smile. She sings Smile in it. The third one I'm going to play is Tenderly, the Ballad of Tenderly. And the fourth one I'm going to do is Seems Like Old Times. It was great being with you. And what I would like to do in closing is take you back again, remember, to the late 50s and Lou Spence and Burns. And I told you that they wrote Nice and Easy, right, for Sinatra, right? Well, the backstory on it is, you have to understand, they were just getting started. I'm talking about the Bergmans. They were just getting started. It was the late 50s. So what happens is Spence and the Bergmans come up with this song called Nice and Easy, and it came out of the idea that Alan said, why don't we write a song like with the phrase nice and easy? Well, they wrote it. Oh yeah, they wrote the song all right. They took it into Sinatra. He glanced at it, he took his thumb and his forefinger, and then the lead sheet, they call it lead sheet, and he dropped it into the wastebasket like it was contaminated. Okay? Now, I give Sinatra that second clause. I guess he decided maybe he'd do nice and easy with nice and easy. He got back to them. And not only did Nice and Easy become a hit number, it became what we call the lead track on the CD. And better than that, Sinatra made it the cover of the album. All right, that's how far we go. It is a very good number, and I'd like to play and sing it with you, if I could, please. Okay? Let's take it nice and easy. It's gonna be so easy for us to fall in love. Hey baby, what's your hurry? Relax and don't you worry. We're gonna fall in love. We're going to romance, that's safe to say. But let's make all the stops along the way. The problem now, of horses, is simply hold your horses. To rush would be right. Yeah, nice and easy does it every time. Meadow Lakes, we take it easy, even though our masks are squeezing. But we're gonna be just fine. Nice and easy doesn't it? Nice and easy doesn't it? Nice and easy doesn't all the time. Thank you very much for coming. Enjoyed having a good house, and we appreciate you attending. Okay? Thank you.